4 years after Boston University graduate student Michael Chen disappeared without a trace, his sister finds a blood-stained shirt and encrypted USB drive that expose a billion-dollar conspiracy. What started as a missing person case becomes a deadly game of cat and mouse with organized crime and corrupt officials who killed to protect their secrets. Lisa Chen's hands trembled as she discovered the hidden compartment behind Michael's bookshelf. Inside, wrapped in their childhood friendship bracelet, was a small USB drive and something that made her blood run cold. Michael's favorite gray hoodie with dark stains across the chest. Blood. Dried, but unmistakably blood. Detective Ray Sullivan watched Lisa from across the dusty apartment, his expression unreadable. He'd volunteered to help clean out Michael's space, but something about his eagerness seemed off. Too helpful. Too interested in what she might find. The apartment itself held secrets in every shadow. 4 years of accumulated dust had settled like a shroud over Michael's life, but certain items looked recently disturbed. Books moved slightly from their original positions. Desk drawers showing signs of careful searching. Someone had been here before them. Boston rain drummed against windows overlooking the university district where Michael had spent his final months. The financial towers of downtown rose through the gray mist like monuments to the corporate power that had destroyed her family. Lisa plugged in the USB drive, her heart hammering. The screen showed a childhood video, her and Michael playing at Franklin Park, building secret forts, burying treasure under the oak tree. But at the video's end, Michael's adult voice whispered urgently, "Lisa, if you're watching this, I'm already dead. The password is the promise we made at the oak tree. Don't trust anyone, not even the police. Someone close to the investigation is feeding information to killers." Detective Sullivan stepped closer, his interest sharp. What did he say about police? Lisa's instincts screamed danger. Sullivan's reaction was too quick, too focused on that specific detail. She ejected the USB, claiming the file was corrupted, but her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop digging or your parents join Michael. We know your mother's morning jogging route." The specific threat chilled her. Someone had been watching her family for years, knowing their routines with intimate precision. Meanwhile, 3,000 miles away in a Portland FBI field office, Agent Jennifer Walsh received an encrypted message on her secure phone. "Chen girl found something. Recommend immediate containment." Walsh deleted the message and reached for her travel authorization forms. After 4 years of protecting a billion-dollar operation, she wasn't about to let a grieving sister destroy everything. The threads of conspiracy were already tightening around Lisa, though she didn't yet understand the forces moving against her. In Boston, Detective Sullivan made a private phone call. In Washington, federal databases were quietly accessed. In offshore accounts, money began moving to accounts designed for emergency extractions. Michael Chen's investigation was about to claim its next victims. The massive oak tree in Franklin Park stood like a guardian over Lisa's childhood memories, its ancient trunk scarred by decades of weather and time. In the pre-dawn darkness, Lisa approached their old hiding spot, every shadow potentially concealing watchers. She'd waited until 5 a.m. to avoid surveillance, but the feeling of being observed never left her. Detective Sullivan had insisted on accompanying her, claiming protection, but Lisa noticed he'd positioned himself to watch her rather than watch for threats. The rusted metal box buried beneath twisted roots contained horrors that made her sick. Financial records showing millions stolen from union pension funds, photographs of Michael's beaten face, audio recordings of death threats. But most disturbing was a child's friendship bracelet identical to hers, covered in dried blood. "Jesus Christ," Sullivan muttered, examining the evidence. But his shock seemed performed, rehearsed. "We need to contact the FBI immediately." Lisa studied a photograph of Michael's battered face, taken during his captivity. The timestamp showed he'd been held for 3 days before his murder, 3 days of torture that police claimed never happened. Hidden in the box's false bottom was Michael's journal from age 12, with a new entry dated 3 days before his disappearance. "They know I'm close to exposing everything. The pension fund theft is just the beginning. There's a federal agent taking money to protect organized crime. I won't survive this, but Lisa will finish what I started. She's braver than she knows." Agent Jennifer Walsh arrived within the hour, her federal credentials impressive and her manner professionally sympathetic. She examined Michael's evidence with apparent shock. photographing documents while expressing outrage at the crimes they revealed. But Lisa caught something in Walsh's eyes when she thought no one was watching. Not shock, but recognition. Walsh had seen these documents before. "Your brother discovered systematic pension fund theft worth over $300 million, Walsh explained, her voice carrying perfect federal authority. "These bank routing numbers connect to known organized crime accounts. We'll need to move quickly to prevent further thefts." Meanwhile, the true scope of Michael's investigation was revealing itself through connections spanning continents. In Moscow, a banker received coded instructions to liquidate specific accounts. In Dublin, an IRA financial coordinator began transferring assets to untraceable cryptocurrencies. In Bogotá, cartel money launderers prepared for emergency extraction protocols. Michael hadn't just discovered local crime, he'd uncovered the financial infrastructure of international organized crime. And everyone involved knew that Lisa Chen now possessed the same evidence that had gotten her brother killed. David Park sat in a coffee shop 12 blocks away, monitoring police frequencies and federal communications. He'd been Michael's partner in the original investigation, the computer expert who'd helped hack into Meridian Holdings' servers. For 4 years, he'd hidden in digital shadows, watching and waiting for someone to continue Michael's work. Now Lisa Chen was following the same path that had led to Michael's death. And every federal agent, every police detective, every seemingly helpful official around her was a potential threat. David sent an encrypted message to Lisa's phone. "Your brother saved my life by not revealing my identity during torture. Meet me at Boston Public Library, main branch, reading room 3B. Come alone. Trust no one else, especially not the people claiming to help you." The message would reach Lisa in 30 minutes. By then, Walsh and Sullivan would have already started the process of eliminating another Chen family member. But David had spent 4 years preparing for this moment. He had backup plans Michael never knew about, evidence hidden in places even federal agents couldn't reach, and a determination to honor his dead partner's sacrifice. The real investigation was about to begin. Lisa sat in the Boston Public Library's reading room, surrounded by students who had no idea they were witnessing the continuation of a federal investigation. David Park appeared exactly on time, Asian American, early 30s, eyes constantly scanning for threats. But as Lisa studied his nervous demeanor, she noticed something troubling. His knowledge of the library's layout was too perfect, his positioning too strategic. Either he was exceptionally paranoid, or he'd been planning this meeting for much longer than he claimed. "Your brother and I hacked into Meridian Holdings servers," David explained quietly. "We discovered they weren't just stealing pension funds. They were laundering money for Russian mob, Irish organized crime, Colombian cartels. The pension theft was necessary to replace dirty money they'd already cleaned." Meanwhile, Agent Walsh coordinated with a federal tactical team from her command post 3 blocks away. Thermal imaging showed Lisa's location, directional microphones captured fragments of conversation, and facial recognition systems had already identified David Park despite his 4 years of hiding. But the most dangerous element was Detective Sullivan, positioned near the library's emergency exits with instructions to eliminate both targets if they attempted to flee. Lisa's phone buzzed with what appeared to be a message from her mother. "Honey, strange men have been asking neighbors about our family. Should I call police?" The message was fake, generated by federal communications specialists to test Lisa's reactions. But its psychological impact was real. Her family was being threatened, and the very people supposed to protect them might be responsible. David pulled out a tablet showing live financial transactions. "They're moving money right now, $500 million being transferred to offshore accounts. After tonight, every union member in Boston loses their retirement savings, and the criminals disappear forever." But David's tablet showed more than financial data. Hidden in the interface were CIA surveillance protocols, NSA communication intercepts, and Department of Defense encryption systems. David Park wasn't just a computer science graduate student, he was a federal intelligence operative. The revelation hit Lisa like ice water. Michael's partner was either deep undercover law enforcement, or he was the federal asset who'd betrayed her brother to organized crime. Lisa's training as a paralegal had taught her to read people's tells, and David exhibited classic signs of deception, micro-expressions of guilt, subtle distancing behaviors, and knowledge that exceeded his claimed background. "You're not who you say you are," Lisa said quietly. David's face showed the first crack in his cover story. "Lisa, there are things about Michael's investigation you don't understand. The corruption goes higher than state level. It reaches federal agencies, congressional oversight committees, even international intelligence services." But Lisa was studying something else. David's reaction to her accusation wasn't surprise or confusion. It was relief, as if maintaining his cover story had become exhausting. "Who are you, really?" she demanded. "CIA Financial Crimes Task Force," David admitted. "Michael was my asset, an unwitting source we'd been developing to expose organized crime's banking operations. But someone leaked his identity to the criminals he was investigating." The library's atmosphere shifted as Lisa realized the scope of betrayal. Michael hadn't just been killed by criminals, he'd been sacrificed by the very intelligence agencies sworn to protect him. Agent Walsh's voice crackled through David's concealed earpiece. "Target is becoming suspicious. Recommend immediate extraction and termination protocols." But David had spent 4 years preparing for this moment. His loyalty wasn't to the CIA or the FBI or any federal agency. His loyalty was to Michael Chen, who died believing he was fighting for justice. "Lisa," David said, removing his earpiece and crushing it under his heel, "we have about 30 seconds before federal agents storm this building to kill us both.
Do you trust me enough to run?"
Through the library's windows, Lisa could see black SUVs surrounding the building. Agent Walsh stood beside one vehicle, speaking into a radio while federal tactical teams took positions at every exit. Lisa thought about Michael's final message, about their childhood promise to protect each other, about the thousands of families who would lose their retirement savings if the criminals succeeded. "I trust my brother's judgment," she said. "He trusted you." They ran for the library's service tunnels as federal agents breached the main entrances, beginning a chase that would either expose the truth about Michael's death or add 2 more names to the list of people who died trying to stop organized crime's billion-dollar conspiracy. The abandoned warehouse in South Boston still showed dark stains on its concrete floor. Michael's blood, dried but permanently marking the place where he'd spent his final hours. Lisa knelt beside the stains, her hands shaking as she opened the waterproof container David had led her to find. Inside was Michael's ultimate gift, video recordings of Agent Walsh taking money from Russian mob representatives, financial records proving federal corruption spanning decades, and most devastating of all, Michael's final video message, recorded on his phone during captivity. "Lisa," Michael whispered to the camera, his face bloody and swollen. "If you're watching this, they killed me. But I've built something they can't destroy. A delayed release system that will send all evidence to every major news outlet if I don't check in weekly." But as Lisa watched her brother's final moments, she realized something that changed everything. The timestamp on Michael's video was wrong. He'd recorded this message 6 months before his disappearance, not during his captivity. Michael had known for months that he was going to be killed. He'd planned his own death as the ultimate evidence-gathering operation. "The person who betrayed me is someone I trusted completely," Michael continued in the recording. "Someone with access to federal databases, someone who knew my investigation timeline, someone who could arrange my murder and cover it up." The warehouse lights blazed on. Agent Walsh stood in the doorway with federal backup, her weapon drawn. But beside her was Detective Sullivan, and Lisa finally understood the true scope of the conspiracy. "I'm sorry, Lisa," Walsh said. "Your brother left us no choice. Neither are you." But Lisa was studying David Park's position, noting how he'd moved to block the warehouse's rear exit rather than prepare to defend against Walsh's team. His defection from federal agencies had been another layer of deception. "How long have you been working together?" Lisa asked. Walsh smiled coldly. "David's been a double agent from the beginning. He helped us identify Michael as a threat and arranged his elimination. Now he's helping us clean up the loose ends." But Lisa had spent 4 years studying Michael's investigation techniques, learning to read people's motivations and hidden agendas. David's body language showed conflict, not commitment to Walsh's team. "That's not true," Lisa said, watching David's micro-expressions. "You've been playing both sides, haven't you? Working with them while building evidence against them." David's hand moved toward his concealed weapon, but not toward Walsh's team, toward Sullivan. who was reaching for his radio to call for additional backup. Michael figured it out 6 months before he died, David confirmed. I was supposed to be CIA monitoring organized crime, but Walsh had turned me into her intelligence source. Michael offered me a choice: help him expose the corruption or watch thousands of families lose their retirement savings. The standoff exploded into gunfire as David shot Sullivan and dove for cover. Walsh's federal team opened fire while Lisa activated Michael's delayed release system from his phone, sending 4 years of evidence to news outlets worldwide. In the chaos, Lisa saw the ultimate truth. Michael's death hadn't been a failure. It had been the culmination of a counterintelligence operation that exposed corruption reaching the highest levels of federal law enforcement. 6 months later, Lisa Chen stood before the Senate Intelligence Committee, testifying about the largest federal corruption scandal in modern history. Michael's evidence had resulted in 127 arrests across 8 countries and the recovery of $2.8 billion in stolen pension funds. Agent Walsh received life imprisonment for treason, murder conspiracy, and racketeering. Her corruption network had protected organized crime for 12 years, enabling the theft of billions from working families. David Park testified under federal protection, revealing how intelligence agencies had been compromised by the same criminal organizations they were supposed to investigate. But for Lisa, the numbers and convictions mattered less than the promise she'd kept. Michael's investigation had continued through her determination, protecting families he'd never met from criminals he'd died to expose. Standing at Michael's grave on the anniversary of his death, Lisa placed a white rose beside the headstone that read, "Michael Chen, 1995-2020, he kept his promise." "You did it, Michael," she whispered. "You saved over 2 million retirement accounts. You exposed federal corruption that had been protected for decades, and you proved that ordinary people can defeat the most powerful criminal conspiracies." The oak tree in Franklin Park was visible from the cemetery, where 2 children had once promised to always protect each other. Michael had kept that promise with his life, building an investigation that would continue protecting families long after his death. Lisa touched the friendship bracelet she still wore, feeling her brother's presence. Some investigations end with arrests. Others become eternal guardians of justice. Michael's case had proven that love between siblings could topple billion-dollar conspiracies and expose corruption in the highest levels of government. The promise made under an oak tree by 2 children had become a legacy protecting families across the world, proving that truth is more powerful than any criminal conspiracy, especially when that truth is defended by people who refuse to give up on each other.